So y'all remember a while back when I covered the story of Julio Foolio, right? He was shot after being ambushed outside of a Tampa hotel on his birthday weekend. Well, that case is finally in court, and the first person to face the jury is one that nobody really expected, a young woman named Alicia Andrews. Now, she wasn't one of the shooters. She didn't pull a trigger, but prosecutors say that she helped make it all possible by tracking Julio Foolio's every move the night that he died. Now, the crazy part is this: the story that we all thought we knew, that Foolio dropped his location, a group of ops seen it, drove down to Tampa on impulse, and then killed him, is not what the state is saying happened at all. According to their opening statements, this wasn't some random attack done on impulse. They're calling it a multi-day conspiracy that was planned hundreds of miles away, with Andrews allegedly acting as the eyes and ears for the actual killers. But Alicia's defense is the opposite. She's saying, yeah, I was there, but I didn't know that there was a murder that was going to happen. She says that she thought she was on a weekend vacation with her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance, and that he was the one communicating with the shooters behind her back. The jury is going to have to decide whether she was just along for the ride and in the wrong place at the wrong time, or if she was a full-blown participant in one of the most premeditated hits the Florida rap scene has ever seen, right? So basically, all of the shooters in this case are saying, it wasn't us, we're innocent, we didn't do it, we're being framed. And she's saying, no, they did it and I was there, but I didn't know that they were gonna do it. I was just, like I said, in the wrong place at the wrong time. So today I want to kind of break down everything that came out on the first day of trial, the prosecution's version, her lawyer's version, and how this case is shaping up inside the courtroom. Now, the prosecutors did their opening statements. Their opening statements were over 2 hours long yesterday, so obviously I'm not gonna play all of the opening statement, but we're going to take a look at some of the important parts. Let's roll the clip.
Charles Jones. You've heard his name in the indictment. That's his face. Just a few seconds of the mountain of evidence that you will see in this case of what happened that night. Evidence that will show you clearly that these co-conspirators hatched this murderous plot, not minutes, not hours, but days before this, formulating in their hearts and minds this agreed upon, collective, and confederated plan with one common agreed upon goal: death, violence, and murder. A conspiracy motivated and hatched days before, hundreds of miles away from Tampa. A conspiracy that would span through those days and over 500 miles of travel.
So as you can hear the prosecutor explaining there, they're saying that this wasn't some random retaliation and it didn't start the night that Foolio dropped his location. According to the prosecutors, this thing was already in motion days before his birthday, and it was a full setup that was planned all the way from Jacksonville. Now, Foolio had been promoting his Tampa birthday party for days. Flyers were online, he was posting his hotel, posting at the clubs. So if you were looking for Foolio, he wasn't making it hard to find him. The state believes that this is how the crew locked in on him, packed up, booked an Airbnb, and drove down to Tampa with one goal already decided, and that was to kill Julio. But here's where Alicia Andrews' side tries to pull away from that. She's not denying that she was there. She's admitting that she rode down to Tampa with her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. But again, she claims that she thought it was just a weekend vacation, not a murder plot. She says that while Isaiah was meeting up with other people and making calls, she had no idea it was connected to Foolio. In her mind, she was just tagging along with her boyfriend and definitely not planning on helping in a targeted hit. That's what her attorney is going to open with when he gets up there. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying that's what she is saying the story is.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there was no evidence whatsoever that Alicia Andrews killed Charles Jones. No evidence whatsoever that Alicia Andrews wanted Charles Jones dead. No evidence whatsoever that Alicia Andrews did anything to help that group of men kill Charles Jones. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're not just here to deliver a verdict. You are here to right a wrong. Alicia Andrews was on a weekend trip with her boyfriend with only one agenda: to be with her boyfriend. 2, Alicia Andrews is not in a gang. 3, with the exception of her boyfriend, Alicia Andrews did not know any of those men in that group, and none of those men in that group knew Alicia Andrews. As a matter of fact, if there was some conspiracy, Alicia Andrews was not in the loop because she was not in the group. 4, Alicia Andrews is not a part of the drill rap culture, nor the drill rap scene. 5, Alicia Andrews did not have any physical evidence on any weapon displayed by the state. You would not find DNA, fingerprints, no physical evidence whatsoever linking Alicia Andrews to this case.
So that's the backbone of Alicia's defense. And honestly, it's really like the only play that she has. Her lawyer is trying to paint her as an outsider to this whole story. He's trying to separate her, say that she's not a gang member, not a shooter, just a woman who happened to be dating the wrong guy at the wrong time. He's telling the jury, you know, she wasn't a part of this world. She didn't even know these guys. And there's zero physical evidence tying her to the actual crime. In other words, her lawyer is basically saying you can't prove what she did and didn't know, so you can't prove that she's guilty. And that argument could work, especially if the case is built mostly on phone data and movement patterns instead of, like, you know, fingerprints and DNA. If the jury starts to see her as just a tag along, somebody that was just in the car because of her boyfriend, then the conspiracy charge that the prosecutors are pushing for becomes a lot harder to lock in. But at the same time, the defense only holds if the rest of her story makes sense, because once you admit that she was there, which is what they're doing, they're basically saying, look, I'm guilty, but I'm not like guilty, right? I'm guilty of being there and being in the vicinity, but I ain't guilty of getting nobody killed. But once you've admitted that she was there, that she traveled with the people accused of stalking and killing Foolio, they used her phone to call others, they were wearing masks while they were following him, the whole I don't know what was happening story starts to wobble a little bit, right? It gets weak at the knees because her defense really only holds up if people do believe that she was just an innocent tag along. If other details start to come out that hint at maybe she probably did know what was going on, then her defense falls apart pretty quickly. And that's exactly why her lawyer spends so much time breaking down the trip itself, the Airbnb, the different rooms, how she supposedly ended up there in the first place, all without realizing what was really going on. Right? He's trying to create that separation.
She says, how many rooms? She says 2. Now, there's some assumption on Mr. or Detective Ramos' side that because Alicia Andrews asked for 2 rooms for this romantic getaway, as he claims it to be, was some indication that she intended for this other group of guys to come to the Airbnb with them. In reality, Miss Andrews and Isaiah Chance were kind of on the outs. Didn't know if they were going to be on the in or the outs. So they got 2 rooms, bigger, more comfortable, some space for this trip that was to be a trip of reckoning and maybe reconciliation. Ultimately, though, Alicia Andrews and the friend or follower does not book the Airbnb. Somebody else does. Alicia Andrews did not know that somebody else books the Airbnb. She was out of the loop. Nonetheless, Airbnb booked on the way to Tampa. Isaiah Chance, and you saw the video, before he picks up Alicia Andrews, stops by Sean Gaithwright's house. where he packs up all of these bags. Alicia Andrews never sees what goes into the Impala. She's not a part of that packing process. Not in the loop. Isaiah Chance goes and then picks up Miss Andrews, brings her back to where they pack the bags, and then they head down to Tampa. In the interrogation room, Detective Ramos tells Alicia Andrews that she must not be wearing a mask at the clubs to conceal, she must be wearing the masks at the club to conceal her identity because she's not wearing a mask at the McDonald's. But the reality is, Alicia Andrews thought that it was just going to be her and her boyfriend.
Okay, so this is where things get a little bit murky, because if you listen close, her lawyer isn't really denying what happened. He's just explaining it away. He's saying, yeah, she booked the Airbnb. Yeah, she rode down to Tampa with him. Yeah, she put on a mask and followed Julio around that night. But the reason behind it all is totally innocent. Okay, now it's up to you if you believe that, all right? And what he's talking about is apparently throughout the night, they have video footage of Alicia Andrews at a McDonald's with her boyfriend. Apparently in this footage, it was just her and him. She didn't have the mask on, but later on that night, they have video footage of them at the club and she does have a mask on. They're saying that she was aware of what was going down because the footage clearly shows that in one moment she didn't have it on, and then when they were stalking and ready to kill Julio, she did have it on. Now, her lawyer offers an explanation for this. His explanation is, she's shy, right? She says that she was hanging out with just her boyfriend at one point. That's when she didn't have the mask on. At some point, Davion, which is one of the shooters in this case, showed up. When he showed up, she says she put the mask on because Davion was smoking. She didn't want the smoke in her face. She didn't really know him like that, so she felt a little bit shy. And so that's why she put the mask on. That's what her defense is trying to argue. And honestly, when it comes to her, this is the part that the jury is gonna have to wrestle with, really, because if she didn't know what was really going on, it means everything that she did that night just happens to line up perfectly with the murder plot, the Airbnb, the road trip, the following Julio, even the phone calls that were made. That's a whole lot of coincidence to try to convince a jury of. And the mask explanation, it's just one detail that's really hard to sell. The state says she wore it to hide her identity while they were telling Foolio, because if he seen her, obviously he would know that his ops had to drop on him. The defense is saying, that's not the case. She was just shy when everybody else got into the car. And at the end of the day, there's really going to be no way to prove why she had the mask on, unless she sent a text saying, I'm putting the mask on because we finna slide or something like that. There's really no way to prove why she put the mask on, but like, come on, bro. Like I said, it's a whole lot of coincidence. And this is important because if the jury doesn't buy the shyness defense, and if they think that the mask meant that she knew exactly what was about to go down, then the rest of her defense falls apart literally right here.
No reason to wear the health mask, the medical mask. Then she didn't know that Davion Murphy was going to bum rush the ride and take control of the driver's seat, let alone did she expect Isaiah Chance to let him do so. So she's caught without her mask unexpectedly. Davion's in the video. You see him smoking and puffing, and Alicia wants to say something, but she can't because she's afraid to say something to this guy who just bogarted the cruise, made her man get in the back seat, and took over. She won't say anything. Not because she was trying to hide herself. She didn't say anything because she was scared. Not because she wanted the guy to smoke in her face, because she was scared. They get back to the Airbnb, and a few hours later, they head out again. Go to Club Teasers. Now they're in the cruise again, and Isaiah Chance is driving. Now the state asserts that because Isaiah Chance is driving and Alicia Andrews is right next to him while Isaiah Chance is on her phone, Alicia must have heard everything Isaiah said. They got that from Juan Ramos. But that's a bad assumption. Because there's...
To that comment, Your Honor. Is that proper?
Anyway, again, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this are just the opening statements. The attorneys are telling you what they believe the evidence will be. And that's all that it is, their belief. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Malcolm.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's a bad assumption. Because there's no way of knowing. Although the cell phone data shows that that line was open and there was communication between the two phones, there's no way of knowing whether Isaiah Chance was the talker or the listener. And even if Isaiah Chance was the talker, there's no way to know whether he was using explicit language that Alicia Andrews could understand. So when in the interrogation room, Detective Ramos asks Alicia Andrews what Isaiah Chance was saying, and she says, I don't know. It was the truth. She didn't know. And there is no evidence whatsoever to the contrary.
Now, whether you believe that or not is going to be totally up to you, just like it's going to be totally up to the jury if they buy and believe that Alicia Andrews just didn't know what was going on. She was oblivious, riding around with her boyfriend, stalking Julio that night. You know, me personally, I'm not really buying it, but it's totally up to you. Now, that's how this thing started. But things did start to look a little bit more grim for Alicia as time progressed, right? So the state ended up calling a pretty important witness to the stand, and this was Alicia's best friend, somebody that has known her for a decade. And if you ask me, what comes next kind of completely destroys everything that Alicia's lawyer argued in his opening statements, because her defense was basically like, she's just a normal girl. She don't know anything about no gang beef. But the friend's testimony that took the stand and the text messages that get read kind of prove otherwise. The prosecution went through their old conversations, their text, line by line, and it showed Alicia wasn't just aware of what was going on. She was actively talking about it. So I'm going to go ahead and play the part where the prosecution reads those messages out loud.
You said you have known her for over a decade. How would you describe the nature of your relationship?
She's one of my bestest friends.
And has Alicia Andrews, has she talked to you about Isaiah Chance?
Yes.
Both in person and through text messaging on her phone?
Yes.
Did Alicia Andrews ever mention to you that Isaiah Chance was in a gang?
She mentioned that there were rumors that he was in a gang.
And when did she mention that? When was that conversation? Was that before June of 2024?
It was before June of 2024, but I can't give you a specific date.
Did you previously say that you thought it was in January or February of 2024?
Yes, I did. I was throwing out dates.
And she specifically told you that she was aware that he was in a gang. Is that correct?
She was aware that he was tied in or affiliated within a gang, yes.
Do you remember what gang that was?
I believe it's NHG.
Okay, and is that a gang in Jacksonville, Florida?
Yes, it is.
And you yourself living in Jacksonville, Florida, you are aware with a rapper by the name of Julio Foolio, Charles Jones, the victim in this case, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that is a name that you have been familiar with for a very long time, is that correct?
That is correct.
Approximately how many years have you known or heard of Julio Foolio, Charles Jones?
Since like 2016, so I would say going on a decade.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification, States Exhibit 75C2. Do you recognize this exchange, these text messaging between yourself? Is that your phone number, 1904-9?
It's my phone number.
And are those messages from you and Alicia, between you and Alicia Andrews, that occurred in 2021?
That is correct.
Your Honor, at this time, we would introduce into evidence States Exhibit 75C.
Do you renew previously made objections?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, same ruling, and it'll be admitted.
And it's just 75C2.
Yes, correct.
So again, Ms. Jordan, this number here is your phone number, is that correct? 190. Okay. I'm going to ask you, this column is your response to her messaging, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at the top where it says January 19th of 2021, where the defendant, Ms. Andrews, is saying or texting you in a message, but if you think about it, everybody dissing everybody, what does PPL mean?
That's abbreviation for people.
And then it says from out east.
That's a hood in Jacksonville.
Okay. And is that, when you say out east, a hood in Jacksonville, is that an area associated with ATK and 1200?
More so 1200.
And it says out east, they side, so, and then OFC, do you know what that means?
Of course.
They gone, say some, but it don't even be, what is this?
She's referring to Lil Papa. He's a rapper.
Okay. And do you know what gang La Papa is involved in?
He's from 1200.
Okay. And then it says, like that, FR Foolio. Is that a reference to Julio Foolio, the victim in this case?
That would be correct.
It says, be the one talking shit, then all the little, and then I'm not going to say it, NIGGAS come, and the other extra ass people. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then can you read what your response is to that?
Everybody be dissing. That's how SB when them in choose to live like that. So that's what come with that lifestyle. It's sad, but it ain't gonna stop. Like famous people do it too. Look at Dirk. He always talking about Tuka. Like it's always gonna be like that.
And when you're saying famous people, one of those famous people you're referring to is Julio Foolio, is that correct?
No, I was referring to Lil Durk. He's a Chicago rapper.
He's a Chicago rapper. Okay, I apologize. Thank you for clarifying that. And then what did you say at this time?
I said she got a point, but the S gonna continue because they keep killing each other.
And what are you referring to when you say they keep killing each other?
Everybody that was involved at the time of 2021, it was a lot of people dying. 2020, 2021.
And are you talking about between those rival groups, 1200, ATK, and 6 Block?
Yes.
And then Ms. Andrews texts to you, right, so gonna go on, and they're saying let Leaky rest. Do you know who Leaky is?
I don't know him personally.
Do you know who he's affiliated with?
1200.
Leaky rest, but I'm sure the other side be feeling like so it's just gonna keep repeating. And yeah, they know what come with it, so charge that to the game, go retaliate or something. They're sitting up here rapping, but that's y'all homeboy, just do what y'all gotta do, but they don't even be in Jacksonville, and I doubt they GAF, do you know what that means?
Give AF.
Okay. About anybody here or upcoming rappers, so well aware about Julio Foolio as a rapper and some of those other people we've mentioned, is that correct?
That is correct.
Do they also rap about this war that's going on in Jacksonville?
They do.
It's called drill rapping?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what did you respond to that?
At least that S ain't late SF. Mine was a week late. And yes, B, I think I sent you the post, like all these rappers in paperwork. Except J. He in the clear, and my cousin vouched for him too.
I'm going to ask you about J. Who's that?
A rapper in Jacksonville.
Is that Ja'Cory Rivers?
Yes.
What gang is he affiliated with?
1200.
And then Miss Andrews texts back, it was deleted, about time I got up, but Foolio, he said it, but everybody kind of knew that it was just once that time he got shot, and I forgot that boy that died with him at that Reigns game, but that boy Robert ain't even do that, even though he on the 6th side, it was Bibby, and we'll know that, but Bibby died like 3 weeks later, so that was crazy. Do you know the Robert who she's referring to?
Yes.
Who's that?
Robert Howard.
And is he affiliated with 6 Block?
Yes.
And when they say 6th side, is 6 Block, is that again a reference to an area in Jacksonville?
Yes,
And 6 block is against 1200 or rival to 1200 in ATK, is that correct?
that is correct.
And then what was your response to that?
OMG and LMAO, everybody kind of knew. B, they all knew. They all in his comments calling him a rat.
Okay. And then what does your then text ATPP, what does that mean?
It means at this point,
And
if
then
you
what
know
else?
you in paperwork, just expose yourself.
So if you're listening to those messages right there, it might just sound like regular street gossip, maybe even what fans would text each other about the beef that was happening in Jacksonville. But that's not really what the prosecution is showing the jury. They're building a timeline proving that Alicia knew who was beefing with who was getting killed in the streets, and how deep the politics ran in Jacksonville. When she talks about Robert Howard, that's not some random person. That's Kenny Cap, one of Foolio's people who got charged in the Raines High School shooting that left one teenager dead and 2 others wounded. What the prosecution is doing is showing that these weren't harmless conversations. These were basically gang war receipts typed out by somebody who claims she didn't know what was going on. The friends on the stand breaking down every name, every event, and suddenly Alicia's whole "I was just there with my boyfriend" story really starts to fall apart, because if you know who's beefing with who's dying, and who's supposedly snitching, you're not out of the loop. You are fully aware of what's going on. And it only gets worse because the very next text the state shows is one where Alicia flat out says that she wanted Julio gone back in like 2021 or 22. Look at this.
And then the defendant then texts back to you, and this is January 21st of 2021, 8:39 a.m. Girl, I don't like Foolio, LMFAOOO, ugly ass. He need to die. And SHID, that was Will Friend, and then FUCK, that code, and SHIT, bitch, he shot me and my friend died, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, I'm pointing out who did it. What's she saying there? What's she talking about?
Well, she's referring to somebody that had just died that we know.
In this
So,
gang war?
yeah, we're basically just gossiping.
Okay.
Because
I
you see, we're
understand
talking
that,
about
but
the city
who was it
girls.
in this gang war that she personally knows?
Personally,
Yes, you're saying that you're talking about a friend that just died. Who's
Will,
the-
that was the only person that we both know.
Will at Raines High School, is that, or who else?
That's it.
Okay, all right. And then she says, oh, City Girls made a remix to Throat Baby Girl. This sounds so dumb. LMAOOO. What does that mean?
We're gossiping, like we're still just talking.
And then what did you say? What are you emphasizing what she just said?
Yes.
How do you emphasize that when you're text messaging back and forth?
Hold the message down and then you pick a reaction.
And then what did you say in response?
I can't stand him either. He's green SF and OMG, he killed Will Friend. OH, nah, I would have slid. Because he all on Instagram clowning his A. I would have dropped that bag on his BA head or came for one of his homeboys. Somebody gotta die. And yes, I ain't even listened to it yet. I know it's A. Like, why they got the same 3 people on another remix.
And when you say he killed Will Friend, is that, are you referring to the Raines High School shooting?
Yes.
And then what did you say down here?
Why they got the same 3 people on another remix. We're talking about the City Girls comment.
Okay, let's go back to this when she texted you on, because I think Foolio talking about Therese and his friends, LMAOOO. I do not like him. What's she talking about in this particular sentence
Foolio is talking about Therese on social media.
on social media?
Mm-hmm.
And then she says, I'm trying put 2 and 2 together. And then she says to you, that is Foolio, though he recruit a bunch of dumbass NIGGAS who's willing to die. Is that what you said in response to her?
Yes.
And what do you mean by he's recruiting a bunch of people?
Well, it was something that really was city known and everybody was saying, like, I'm not the only person that said that. A lot of people in this city has said that, like, he recruit a lot of people to die, meaning that he got a lot of people that will come behind him ready to risk their life behind him, and he's still out and alive and living his life.
And he's a part of 6 Block, right?
Correct.
And then she responds back, right, and he's starting to realize, but first time I saw him, that clicked on him. When Julio called, we all in the garage, he talking about NIGGA, always want me to ride with him when he down here, so I can be the one die, not him. I ain't no bodyguard, I was dying. What's she saying when she says that?
I believe she's referencing to what Therese told her about him and how he felt about Foolio.
Okay, so she's not saying that she's ever met Foolio when she says, when we called, Foolio called, we all in the garage, he talking about NIGGE, always want me to ride with him. Who's she referring to when she says he always wants me to ride with him?
Well, she was dating Therese at the time, so I'm pretty sure that phone call happened while she was with Therese,
Okay.
and she overheard the conversation.
And how does Therese know Foolio?
They used to be in the same group, and then they split up.
6 Block.
Well, it's a lot in 6 Blocks, so I guess you can say that, yeah, he was 6 Blocks side.
And did you have any concerns about Therese riding around with Foolio?
That would be something between her and Therese.
Isn't that just what she's telling you here?
Suggestion, speculation.
Overruled.
Well, yeah, if he's saying that he don't want to die and riding for him, then I would be worried. That was my boyfriend at the time.
And right before that, you're talking about he's recruiting a bunch of people, right?
Yeah,
It was in direct response to that message, right?
right.
And then what was your response to her?
LMFAOO, crying because no, for real, like, B, do your own drill. The nobody want to die behind your squid face, A. At least he know shit.
Okay, and who are you referring to now?
We're still talking about Therese.
Now, I'm not gonna lie. The prosecution is in the courtroom cooking right now, like actually frying the defense team. Now, remember, Alicia's lawyer came in talking about how she didn't know any gang members, didn't even know who was beefing, and was just on a vacation with her boyfriend. And boom, the state drops these texts where she literally says, I don't like Foolio, he need to die. I mean, that's absolutely crazy. And that's just the first witness up on the stand. And it was years before the murder ever happened. Crazy stuff. Now, Foolio's mom actually was in the courtroom watching all of this unfold. And after it all went down, she actually went on a live stream afterwards to talk about it. And when you hear what she said, you could tell she's been waiting for this moment.
What's up, Felicia? What y'all think about day 2? Because y'all know I got my opinion on what I think. I don't even feel like I'm saying this right here. I hope y'all can hear me because I got these things in my ear. So, I put up a post a little earlier, and I asked, what y'all think about the text messages. Because in the defense opening statement, they say that the girl, don't know no gang members. She don't know none of Gutter's friends. She don't know nobody that's affiliated with him. She don't know none of that. She just was simply going on a trip with her boyfriend. Okay. It's some text messages came about, right? Her attorney want them text messages to be brought up in court. They filed a motion right there to not bring the text messages forward. So one of her attorneys was like, well, she is irrelevant. So the judge was like, well, how is it irrelevant when during opening statement, your counterpart said that she don't know none of these people, whatever. So the text messages is her and her friend that been knowing her relationship with the other day, the boyfriend, stated that she She done took over. They done met a couple of times at her house. Seems they got on off relationship. But let's get into it. So the message, one of the and it ain't word for word, but I'm just gonna break it down. One of the text messages said, yeah, basically, I don't like Foolio ass. He a troll. He always talks to my people. I put a bag on his head and I want him dead. She talked about Kenyatta Bullard, young and age. She talked about J God. She talked about rest in peace Fast, who was killed at Rains High School. They talked about him. They talked about they kept going back and forth talking about all these people. They talked about Tyrese K. Sorty. But hey, your lawyer, your attorney just said that you don't know none of these people at all. But you do know these people. She had all the tea about who did this, did that. She talked about people who had done got killed and everything. So she knew the tea. She said, I want him dead. Everything like 2021 or something like that. But she don't know these people now. She don't know them. She ain't never seen them before. She ain't never heard of them. But now all of a sudden, you know, the text messages show that was a lie. That was blatantly a lie. So that's why I asked y'all what y'all think about that.
Anyways, I think you can tell by this point what's really going on. The prosecution came in with the receipts, not rumors, not hearsay, actual receipts from Airbnb bookings to surveillance footage to text where Alicia literally says she hopes Foolio dies. And they're not just telling a story, they are walking the jury through every step that at least she took leading up to that night. And what makes it crazy is the contrast. You got her sitting in court, putting on makeup, laughing, smiling, claiming that she didn't know anything about a gang war, never met with these people, and didn't know her man by his street name. But then boom, they pull up photos with her with his nickname tattooed on her, phone pings that placed her at the scene, old text threads showing that she basically knew every name in Jacksonville that was beefing at the time. It's one of those moments where the courtroom kind of like turns into a movie. And then on top of all that, you got Foolio's mom sitting in the courtroom watching everything unfold. And you just got to imagine hearing someone who was around your son, someone who claims that they were just caught in the middle, having texted, I want him dead, years before your son was actually killed. Her reaction says it all. I can't lie. The evidence looks pretty clean. And you got to imagine, if this is what they got on her, what do they have on the dudes who actually pulled the trigger? Because remember, they're not on trial at this exact moment. Their trial will come later. But man, I get the feeling that, you know, these guys are cooked. Now, the state still has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that, you know, everything happens how they said. But the story that they're painting right now, of course, trial just started, is airtight. And it's only like, you know, day 2. But I mean, at this point, y'all got to let me know what y'all think. Was she just caught in something bigger than she realized she was involved in? Or did she actually play a role in this whole thing happening and just happened to get caught? Y'all let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, tap the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. And as always, it's been Far Rocker with y'all, man. I'm out.